Welcome everybody to a True Self Talk. It's April 2021 and these True Self Talks always happen right after our remote energy healing session, which is free for everybody. Once a month we do this here at transCODES. They're open for everyone. Yeah. So here a big warning, this is going to get spiritual today. The session was very lovely actually. There's a lot of stuff in there, and we're going to talk about this here right now, what the significance is of these inner sensations, how we are perceiving this connection with our true self on these different levels of existence. First, of course, on the emotional, physical, emotional, mental, but then also on the spiritual and etheric level. So what do all these different levels of existence have to do with our connection with the true self? Well, the true self is the mediator kind of between our spiritual self, our soul self, and our 3D self, the one that we perceive as our personality, as our aware self. And in that, it can do a lot of things for us. It can show us things, it can prompt us with things, it can sound like a voice in our head. But the presence of the true self that on some level we all feel isn't always that easy for us to interpret, to make sense of, to follow, to even trust that it's there. And therefore, there's also quite a bit of confliction about this. And so this session was all about this confliction. We started out with this invocation that's now 10 years old. We're going to celebrate the 10-year anniversary this year. So for 10 years, every month, I've been doing this. And what stuck out when we said this invocation was this attitude that we think we have to clear our emotions, we have to clear our thoughts, and we have to get better at it, and it's wrong what we're thinking, and directly reflecting this inner conflict, this inner confliction. And so there was a lot of back and forth in there. All right, how did we perceive this during the session? We've had Sheila, Becky, Denise, and Annette as co-facilitators for the session. We've had roughly, 58 or so participants in here. And as a team of energy workers, we are going through your guys' energies, holding the field for you to connect with your true self and keep a little bit of a protocol. So please feel free to ask and inquire about your personal energy here, because we did accompany you. But we also observed the entire field, and here I would like to call in co-facilitators, Becky, Denise, Sheila, Annette. Can you say hi real quick to everyone?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
Mm-hmm. So what was your impression? Maybe let's start first with the physical. What were some of the physical sensations that you guys felt?
I definitely felt a lot of the burning, heartburn, throat, some things that just and kind of belching and just different things moving around, mostly all in the chest and throat area a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, clearing symptoms, as we call them in energy work lingo, right? But mostly around the heart and the stomach area.
Yeah.
This felt differently maybe for each of you. Some could have felt this as sort of pressure actually in the chest, maybe in the sternum, perhaps also as a physical heart pain. I felt that, kind of like as if our heart was squeezed. Maybe you felt it in your diaphragm, felt restricted breathing. Some of you may have also felt this on your the left side of your torso. In specifics, those of you who are a bit more sensitive about energetic sensations, the left shoulder blade and arm. So for me, these sensations were very strong. As a matter of fact, I felt my whole entire left torso kind of numb. And my left arm felt very numb. Those are all symptoms for us as energy workers that there is something that is blocked, something needs to be cleared. And so what I mentioned here, like the parts of the invocation that stuck out energetically, you know, this need for clearing all these walls around our hearts, the feeling aspect of our being. That was definitely something that was somewhat dominating in this session. Denise, you mentioned you felt this as a whole sort of all over chakra clearing. And that's something that when you are a little accompanied or familiar with energy work, then you kind of have a feel for what that feels like when all your chakras are getting blown out and they all get cleared. But there was also, and this is the emotional part, Becky, I think you referred to this, right? There was also a bit of sadness, I guess, right? Sort of some tears were there, and
yes, it felt really emotional for me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of emotions, but I did feel a lot of tears in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. These emotions that you could pinpoint, Becky, what did they remind you of? What did this tell you, about this whole entire group here as sort of dominating emotion?
This wanting, longing to feel love, the remembrance.
Mm-hmm. But also some of the conflictions with it, right? Like some feelings like guilt or
yes,
pity or self-blame.
Yes, that's what came up with the tears. It was like forgiveness when giving up the guilt, the self-blame, the shaming, the self-hatred.
There's a lot of that in this session, guys. Just so you all know, we've had quite a vivid discussion here in the background about this subject, this inner turmoil, where we have this like deep, or feel this deep inner longing for love, for connection, and then all these other things in form of dominating sort of emotional states or thoughts, also thinking patterns or critical inner voices, right? So that on a mental level, a lot of these conflictions played out as this inner back and forth, this, I know how I want it to be, but, or what if, and fear thoughts and so forth. So we have to understand that the way we are all hardwired here as sort of humans in this physiological way, in this physical reality, is that our nervous system connects our body, our emotions, and our thoughts. And our thoughts obviously can come from different places of our brain. They can come from the very lowest sort of fight, flight, or freeze, this animalistic part of us that ties us into all our ego notions. It can also come from the place of of pure logic and rationality. And then it can also come from a place what we call heart mind, is where we are able to kind of align them all. We can align our five senses, our physical sensations, our emotions and soul feelings, if you will, and also our understanding, our conceptual understanding, our higher thinking. By the way, we have a workshop tomorrow called Higher Thinking, the journey from the body mind into the heart mind. So the body mind, the lowest part of, or the lowest level of thinking in us, that is linked to our autonomous nervous system, and regulated by our automatic and parasympathetic nervous system. That is something that we would normally call ego. All right, it's where all of that is linked, and we cannot deny that we have a physical reality, but we also have this soul reality, and this is kind of like where we tapped into today. We tapped into this soul or spiritual reality of ourselves, where we felt this yearning, a little bit of pain, a little bit of guilt. Yeah, Heather is sharing here, it felt like a nail was pushed through my left hand, and with it the sting triggered a vision of P3. What is P3? Oh, you don't know what P3 is? Heather, would you like to comment on that? Is that, maybe it's my lack of English vocabulary, maybe it is something.
It isn't anything, it's just a random thing that it was so predominantly visual, and I can't deny that I was seeing it, and I have no idea.
So these letters and this number, basically,
Yeah.
That's what you saw, that you got a strong visual, yes. And this has to do with this spiritual reality that I mentioned, you know, that we got pulled into physically, emotionally, and mentally as well. And for some of us with energetic training, this can translate into visuals, into what we would call etheric reality. I know what that meant, Heather, because I saw something very similar. Yeah, this is the code of this session. But let me just show real quick what this feeling that we just talked about, the soul feeling, what that felt like. It felt like us in this posture, like this person here, kind of low, kind of down. Us humans, the human being as sort of angel in training, right? With the left wing clipped off, the left wing. And the left wing in etheric reality is always the one that links us to our soul, to the ability to truly feel love, to receive this divine love that we all crave or yearn for, this feeling in us that makes us seek purpose and meaning in life. Yeah, that makes us, basically drives us throughout our whole entire life. Yeah, to get just that. And some of us choose to do a shortcut, with drugs and substances. Some try to, get there with greed, with money, with materialistic things. And some of us, and this is probably most of us, try to numb that feeling, try to cut off that pain. Not feel that anymore. So I chose this visual here for all of you to tune into the sadness of that, the desperation also that is in that. But Heather, the code, so for me that is a code, what you talked about. Let me see. Okay, I need to call this from my computer real quick. This code that you saw there is what I call the Trinity. Okay, so we started out the session with a reminder that our being here is not about just becoming better at being squeaky clean or something like that, removing everything that is not perfect. That is a very binary view of ourselves, which links us into inner darkness. It links us into this solitary and selfish being, the part in us that just degrades ourselves basically to like a machine-like being, or like a computer. We have to be perfect or else we're not deserving, we're not worthy. Now the dualism in us, and this is something that most of us intuitively understand, expresses in the twofold ways. The twofold ways of life. Yeah, that everything is a back and forth, a give and receive, a yin and yang. And we all kind of have an intellectual understanding of it. Our mental mind, our body mind, does perceive dualism, does perceive the either or, good or bad. But it can also get stuck there, all right? With not knowing really what is good, what is right, what is all this about, okay? And this is what most people, in fact, this is where our collective is stuck right now. Yeah, it's like literally split in the middle. And one half says, okay, my view is right. And the other one says, my view is right. Missing the point. Both still degrading the human existence, because the human existence really isn't twofold. It isn't dualistic. It isn't a dualism. The human being, the human existence is actually a trinity. It's a trifold. It's the mother, father, and the child. It's the physical, the spiritual, and the etheric. Yeah, it is the 3D-ness of things, as well as the thinking realm, the understanding realm, as well as the consciousness. Yeah, so everything that we can perceive here as sort of ultimate truth of being displays itself in a threefold way, in a trine way. And that is what you saw there, Heather. You saw the integration of the twofold, the integration of dualism, the third option, the middle way, the third power that comes in when a person grows into their I am awareness, into their consciousness. And the true self is the messenger, it's the mediator. It's the part that can show us a way, that can, be present with us on all these different levels of reality, on our ego reality, our soul reality, and our etheric reality. Let me get another picture for you here. So the true self is the one that mediates these, that communicates this to us. Okay, and this is where it gets interesting, because when we see ourselves in this binary way, like we're either perfect or we have no right to exist, or when we see ourselves in this dualistic way, oh, this is good, this is bad, and constantly more or less sort of beat ourselves up for not being fully perfect in either of them, yeah, then we experience pain and suffering. If we, however, can really grow into that soul self, yeah, that is composed of our 3D ego reality as well as our etheric reality, when we can see both and integrate both, that is when we experience forms of inner peace. Here you can see this in a very structured way. Yeah, it's something that shows us really what all this is about. So if we are too far over here in our ego self, then we experience, you know, these kind of symptoms. And if we are too far, you know, etheric self, we can get lost in the outside world. We can get lost outside of ourselves, versus the ego self makes us get lost in ourself, in our narcissism and so forth. It isn't until, and I don't know, Heather, what the P means, okay, the P part, that would be something that you can maybe feel out. Does this kind of resonate with you? Just in general, what I am sort of presenting here?
Absolutely. And I can tell you the image that popped into my mind immediately after, had to do with connection to what you're going to talk about tomorrow. It's a higher level of consciousness, a higher vibratory way of seeing and being and thinking. And so I thought that was really cool. I can't remember the name of the eye that I saw. It's not the picture of the third eye. It's a different kind of an eye. I just can't remember what it's called.
Actually, I saw an eye in this one here as well. You know, it's when I drew it first in my protocol, and then when I moved sort of my focus a little bit away, I saw this as an eye. And during the session, just so you know, and those of you who are interested, I literally said to the other co-facilitators that the solution out of this conflict, out of this seeking and self-berating and self-pity and self-judgment and the guilt and all the suffering that comes from that the solution for all of this comes in when we begin to see ourselves with the same eye that the divine sees us. Yeah, so to literally see ourselves as that divine being, that's why I said angel in training. Yeah, to assume that we are divine beings that have a 3D experience, that can perceive it, the 3D reality, or exist and perceive 3D reality as well as the etheric reality, as well as the spiritual, the soul, self-reality. But we forget that because most of us get stuck in the 3D reality of things. Yeah, the fears about existing, the fears about I moved the picture too far down, unfortunately. Let me pull this back up. You know, where we just get so overwhelmed by this body mind of ours that we can no longer really feel the spiritual reality of it all. We forget that we are souls with a body. When we are stuck in our 3D reality, we are identifying ourselves with the pure, just material part of us, and that has an expiration date on it. That is controlled by all these fail-safes, by all these automatic systems in us, these hardwires, these instincts and conditionings, and our automatic nervous system, our neurotransmitters and so forth. And if we see ourselves just as that and identify ourselves with that, then we reduce ourselves to that. And then it starts feeling lonely. And this is basically the diagnosis here for our entire human collective at this very moment, is that fear of loneliness, of meaninglessness. And the medicine for this is to actually go and connect with our true self, because our true self is the mediator between these different realities on which we exist, and it can show it to us. Some of us are maybe a little more on the visual side of things, and will therefore experience things in a way that can be called a sort of etheric, yeah. But many of us will first just experience it through, things that we can feel that reminds us of love, of unconditional love, that reminds us of inner peace, of fulfillment. And that's why we often end up working with resonances such as grace and surrender, because they help us to tune into this spiritual reality of ours. And here at transCODES, I teach on all three of these levels, because once we are beginning to align all three of them, by the way, chakra-wise, yes, we experienced the chakra clearing on all levels, all 14 chakras, the 7, the inner and the 7 outer the energy fields. But when we align themselves, then you'll see that a lot of stuff in your body around your 3rd and your 4th chakra, okay? So everything around your, sort of your chest area up to your thymus. Yeah, what we often see as the part in us that connects us with our empathy, with our compassion, with the ability to feel truth. And then you realize that your true self is not sort of the judge or the authority that you take it as at first. Yeah, there's a lot of people have this conception of the true self being sort of the part of you that shows all your darkness and all your shadow. This is a complete misunderstanding. Really part of or actually shows when a person is too far identified with the ego self. The true self has the job to mediate, and to speak to us in our own voice. It whispers to us. It lets us know about our true heart's desire, about our needs, even our boundaries. You guys can feel your true self at all times. It's just a matter of how much you've already tried to mute or numb it down. So the best treatment, if you will, if you diagnose this with yourself, that you are deprived of this true self connection, is to cultivate the true self connection, to actually go there, to actually allocate the time, the space where you can do this. This is why I have been doing this like a 10-year marathon, helping people to connect and have this inner experience of their higher self through themselves. Heather, would you like me to quickly reflect on your energy here during the session? I mean, clearly you picked up on the healing code that your true self actually, communicated to you. All right, the one that was actually there for all of us. Yeah, the big process for you energetically here had to do with redemption. Okay, so there's a component here, a karmic component for you. I'm just going to pretend I don't know anything about your energy, and just you know, because I happen to know you've been a heart warrior, and you're still currently working with me, so I can obviously also relate that to some things that happen in your life. But this is about you really internalizing the multidimensionality of your existence, and helps you to, well, go into karmic resolution with yourself. It's all about self-absolution for you. Yeah. So seeing yourself in that way, in that trine way, can help you to reconcile some of the conflictions in your life, in this lifetime, and also the carryovers from other lifetimes. Simply because, you know, we all sort of have a little bit of a deposit there when we start our 3D life. Yeah, all the thinking, the emoting, yeah, everything that we've energized in previous existences or lives, sort of, that's what we start out with. It's not how people think. There's also different layers of karma, but that's the lowest level here. And when we talk about karmic aspects, we often talk about the lowest level of karma, namely the one that got carried over, the one that doesn't actually relate to what happened in this lifetime, but often expresses in patterns in our 3D life. So yeah, Heather, for you, the connection with your true self is the pathway to redemption, to self-absolution. And therefore, I mean, you've been around here and doing these true self, connect with your true self sessions for many years. Heather, do you want to comment about that?
Well, just as soon as you said the word redemption, everything kind of clicked into place inside of me. I understand that. I'm just so blown away that I feel very blessed that the hard work is paying off in a way that is what I was truly asking myself for, and asking, you know, my higher self, and I don't know what to say with that, the gods that be, just really hands together on my knees praying for some relief. And I didn't understand that the relief would not come from an outside source like I had originally believed, and to decode and deprogram and shift many paradigms and all the things that I've experienced over the past few years of practicing this true self walk and meditation with myself and the group has shown me aspects that seems to ripple in time, and
it does.
That's all I can really say. I don't know how to put that into words.
It does ripple in time, because nothing, every thought, every emotion, every energy, every visual, everything is recorded. It does have ripples in time and space. And that was one of the more serious aspects of this session, subject to the discussion that we had in the background here as co-facilitators. But thank you, Heather, for your beautiful testimonial, and that hopefully motivates other people also to recognize that it's not an event but a process, and that there's more at stake than just some kind of, you know, woo-woo, you know, waterfall unicorn high. It's not about that. It's about our actual reality. Yeah, and the ability to discern it, the ability to understand that every thought, every emotion, every expression materializes eventually. Okay, so that said, all the fears that we have that come from being bound to this 3D reality, that are magnified through our body mind, like the neurotransmitters and the nervous system and the amygdala and our fight, flight, and freeze and all that's all body mind. That's all lower self stuff. It's the animalistic part of us, and that's not really very sophisticated. Not to degrade it or to make it sound bad, we all have that in us, but the part that really sets us apart, that makes us angels in training, is the part in us that recognizes that we are made out of divine love. That is what we are. And it is also what connects all humans on this planet, guys. All humans, every single one of us, is motivated by love. Love is what we all want to feel. It's what drives us. And it cannot be felt here in this reality. In fact, the pathological expressions of people who identify with this only are narcissism. It can also not be felt here when we lose ourselves in our etheric self. The pathological expression of that is somebody who gets lost in, New Age esotericism, mysticism. It's very easy to get lost in one's own fantasy. And we can also not get lost in some kind of imaginary angel thinking, that this life is a burden and that we need to get over with it, and that karma sucks and that we don't want to ever come back. That is a pathological expression of seeing ourselves as a soul self. Only. No, we are a soul self with a body. So it's important for us to understand that these three need to be aligned with another. And the cool part about this, the great news about this, is that we can. We can. I wouldn't be able to teach this if I hadn't experienced that. And people wouldn't be able to learn this if it wasn't learnable. So there's a very serious component about this, especially with the background of our current collective condition. Where everything, or not everything, but you know what I mean, where the majority of our worldview is split, segregated, separated. And separation, guys, always leads to suffering. It is the collective karma to experience more suffering now because of this inner split. And if we want to take our own karma into our hands, if we want to take our karma into our own hands, and we need to understand this. And we need to know how to get there. And that's through the connection with your true self, through truth, through conscious choice, through I am awareness, so through present moment awareness, and through the focus on that, and through the conscious choice. Fear always relates to the death of everything, to the end of everything, which is a 3D ego self problem. And getting consumed by demons is an etheric self problem, the imbalanced version of that. Nothing and nobody, guys, can take your soul self away unless you give permission. And when you're too far out on this side or too far out on that side, you might be giving permission without noticing it. if you cannot feel love, if you numb yourself to the point where you no longer know what this divine love, this connection to your own soul self feels like, then you might sell your soul for a penny or some fame or whatever, no longer having to feel shame and no longer having to feel fear or guilt. And the same here. If you are too afraid of demonic forces, if you are too afraid of your own darkness, if you deny your own darkness, then you will energize it without you realizing it. And as you energize it, everything you energize, remember guys, everything is energy. You attract that kind of reality. Not in a sense of like it's your fault, in the sense of pay attention. Pay attention, because you all want the same, guys. You all want love. You all have good intentions. You all want to be your true self. Sorry. You can tell that I am very passionate about this, and especially when we do energy healing sessions, I can get very serious because I feel all your guys' energies, and I know I can see the conflictions in you. And I'm responding to them when I talk to you in this way. Does anybody want to share or inquire perhaps about their own energy? Get feedback on where they are in the process. Co-facilitators, would you like to make some closing remarks? Add something to this contemplation and a deep feeling of our true self? Give me some feedback here. Anybody, how are you feeling right now? You can type in the chat if you would like to. There's somebody's, she's saying not in a position to speak. No problem. Deep contemplation, yeah. When you listen to this kind of talk, this kind of true self-talk, guys, how does this make you feel? Does this make you feel called out or criticized? Does it make you feel, okay, you feel this being warm and with deep love? Yeah. Well, that's how I mean it. It is not supposed to increase your confliction. It's supposed to remind you of who you truly are. I think Becky said this in the beginning. Remind you. And allow you to anchor this with a true feeling inside of you, not just the words. It's not about some kind of teaching or mystical school throwing around spiritual terms. This is all about feeling. Okay, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Please share these free sessions. There's going to be a recording that you can share. It's public. Invite your friends. Invite anybody who contemplates about life, who asks these kind of questions, to engage, to interact with their true self here in this setting in this space that is being held for you. You can get the links for the next session on my website, www.transcodes.com. The date isn't set yet. There's also a monthly event calendar because we have these energy healing sessions, 2-3 of them a week as ongoing, but they're not free. But this one is free every month. So enjoy this connection. You can actually look up the invocation. You can download a 5-minute energy alignment from my SoundCloud account. You'll find a lot of different mini meditations and also longer meditations, energy alignments. They're all free. Share this, guys. And last but not least, come to our daily Sacred Self online meditation every day, sometimes even twice a day on Skype, where we briefly reflect about current energies and then meditate together and share. This is open for everyone. This is free. This isn't a particular group. We're using the energy processes from the Sacred Self Healing Experience course, which is paid. That is a group. But the Skype online meditations are free and accessible for everyone. Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Denise, for holding the field here for everybody. Thank you, everybody else, for coming. Thank you, Heather, for sharing into the microphone. It's been a wonderful experience with all of you. I hope to see you next month. Bye-bye.